We are live now, so I confirmed. So we will get going. So please enter your comments if you have any questions. So welcome everyone who is watching, and welcome to Investing with the Difference. We have been trying to do some live shows for quite some time, but it has not been consistently going on. And also our videos were we had not done a lot of videos. So we're trying to correct that. Hopefully you will be able to interact and discuss more things happening. So first of all, as usual, let's have a look at, it has been a long time since we reviewed the market. So let's start with that. So Bitcoin, as you know, spent a lot of time above $10,000. There was a great rally a few months back, and then we have been stabilizing around 10,000 for a very long time before we started dipping again. And we tested around $7,000 mark before, again, in last couple of weeks, we are seeing some strength, and we jumped back above $9,000. What is happening in the meantime? I think the most important part from altcoin is the Bitcoin dominance. If you remember when we discussed last time, this was one of the key things we were discussing. And I do see that there is a lot of improvement in like Bitcoin dominance coming down from above 70% at one point. And now we are sitting right below, I think, 66%. So which is kind of a hope for altcoins, I would say. This was especially if you see EOS did test all the way below $2.50 again, and it has recovered somewhat. If you look at EOS versus Bitcoin charts, which I'm not going to go into today, there is definitely a lot of improvement. But in general, I think, as you know, in last few months, altcoins have been really hammered. This recovery is not significant yet. So still, we are still looking for that elusive alt season, which everybody is looking for, especially in terms of EOS price recovery. I think before we spend more time, just make sure, please comment on the chat, confirm that you're able to hear and see the stream all right. If you're anything else, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. So that makes sure that we have everything going all right. So coming back, let's go to what is happening in EOS world. So the biggest thing, what is happening in EOS world is, as you know, the number of transactions has skyrocketed. I think everybody who has been following is aware of the IWAD token, which is really creating this big jump. So let's first talk about the positive things. Of course, if you are a user of EOS, and if you're a token holder who doesn't have enough CPU staked, many of you are facing issues. But let me just go back to what really is happening here. So first of all, anybody who's saying we are congested, you should look at this chart, which is actions per hour. So these are the number of actions EOS is doing right now. And we have actually broken the records of doing almost like 1.6. The highest I'm seeing right now is around 1.6, more than 1.6 million EOS IO token transfers. So what you're seeing here is that just the token transfers are more than 1.6 million. Let's go and look in perspective. The Bitcoin does, in the whole day, it does around 500,000 transactions. And the record for Bitcoin is just over 1 million. So whatever EOS is doing right now in terms of token transfers every hour, that is the best Bitcoin has ever done in the history for the whole day. So that's where we are right now in terms of the number of transactions being done. And if you see, it's not just that while we are saying it's congested since November 1st, you see the consistent increase in this chart where average transactions per hour are continuously increasing. So why is that happening? So let me explain you. What is happening is people are finding innovative ways to use their CPU to mine this IDOS token. We will discuss whether this IDOS token is an attack, it is a spam, or there are all kind of opinions in the community. But I would say that it's a matter of, first of all, looking at the data on the chain and trying to understand what is going on. So again, as I said, the number of transactions are continuously increasing. That means more and more people are bringing their CPU and adding to this mining, or even the other. If you look at this chart, many of these other apps also. So this is EOS Titan tool, which I'm using. Even though the token transfer is the highest, you still see quite a few other applications which are working. That means people are staking to those applications, and they are every hour they're making so many thousands of transactions. So it's not that the network is clogged for everybody, the network is operational, it's just that it's become more expensive. And while I think what EOS Titan is showing us is around 1 million to 2 million transactions per hour, that somehow there's a mismatch on Blocktivity. I think EOS Nation came out and explained the details about, let me see if I can find that. So I don't have that right now, but I think EOS Nation had explained how they are, they helped fix this issue on Blocktivity, which shows that we are now doing 63 million transactions per day, which is like nobody is even close. Let's look at the chart. 82.6% of the whole blockchain activity in the world, which is being tracked by Blocktivity. It includes Bitcoin, it includes Ethereum, it even includes blockchains like Tron, Kin, Steam, Telos, and so many others which are tracked. So if you see, there's a huge list of blockchains which are tracked by Blocktivity. We're talking about 82.6% of the transactions being done only on EOS, that is EOS mainnet. So anybody who says that a network is congested, please answer that it is not. As a token holder, you need to be aware that the network is not congested, network is expensive. And even then, so let me tell you my experience. I've been using a couple of accounts which have maybe 100 to 200 EOS staked. Now, 100 to 200 EOS is not too much. It is kind of around 500, like around $600, let's say, even if it is 200 EOS staked to CPU, $600 or $700. I still remember when Bitcoin was congested in 2017 and or early 2018, I personally remember paying a $50 transaction fee. Now that $50 transaction fee was a fee which I paid and it went away, it never came back to me. And that was one transaction. With the $700 EOS staked right now, I'm still doing around 20 to 25 transactions or sometimes 50 transactions, depending on the kind of transactions I'm doing. About 50 transactions per day, and I'm not losing a single penny. All that $700 still belongs to me because I'm just staking. So just understand the comparison. Like on one hand, when Bitcoin was kind of very heavily used, we were paying $50, or even let's say $50 was an extreme, which it's not even like, I did pay it, so I remember it. I'm sure some people talked about paying even more, but on an average in those days, people were paying very easily $5 to $10 per transaction. So today I'm doing like 20 to 30 transactions with just $700 staked. And those, I'm recovering that in like 1 week because I'm actually doing, let's say, $5, $10 worth of transaction on a very busy network. So this is just one perspective. But yes, I know that a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people are complaining of what's going on. But what do we want as EOS network? We want it to be used as a token holder. So let's first talk about investors. Forget about the dApps, forget about a user. When you are looking at a blockchain which can do this many transactions, irrespective of the next discussion which we will have about this IDOS or what is going on, we are right now dominating the blockchain world. So this is something to celebrate. This is something which is huge. And it's not a flash in the pan. It's not like it is happening for a day. This is why I'm showing you this chart. We are actually improving every day. We are actually even making newer and newer records. And the reason is people are mining this token. People are excited about free token distribution, which is happening with this. So we should actually appreciate, at least at a technical level, that it is pushing the boundaries for the network. Every time I reload Blocktivity, I get a new number. So I was just on this page, and while thinking of doing this live stream, I thought I will keep this page open. And what I realized is I need to refresh it every time, because if you see, the record is usually what we are running right now. And people are so innovative in terms of doing the number of transactions right now that it's becoming more and more every hour. Now, coming back to what other benefits we are seeing in the current status, while yes, there are issues. So one of the issues which was exposed is, so if you want to really track what's going on, do go and track the Enomivo Twitter. So while these are the guys who are running this IDOS airdrop, so now let's go back to this project and my views on it, irrespective of what is really going on here. Let's assume this is a stress test. It's not even a project or anything. Let's assume it's a stress test of EOS network. What we have found is we have actually found a lot of new fixes. One of the bug which was there in the code that was with the name bidding, and somebody what they did is they actually went ahead and used the name bidding. Like you can go and bid a very, very small amount, and when the refund comes, when somebody outbid that particular name on the premium names, you get your money back or the EOS back. But while you get this back, somebody was writing a contract to send that immediately to the IDOS contract. So in that manner, EOS system contract was paying for the CPU and mining IDOS token for free, because EOS system contract has infinite resources. So this was like a lot of focus is going on this, but in the meanwhile, Block One has actually fixed this issue right away while somebody was exploiting this. And there is a patch available, and hopefully this will be deployed very soon on the EOS.io contracts. And this will really help plug this one of the big holes, security holes in this name bidding. So as we see, again, I will not go back to the discussion on whether this is a valid project or not, but because of the sustained throughput on the network and the miners being very, very innovative with exploiting the system, we are finding very important corner cases bugs. Another thing which we found was with the, let me go and write the Medium article which we did. Actually, this was not the article, but let me go and load one of the important pieces which we found in the Rex. So I did an article on Medium about CPU congestion and what is going on. And we did talk about one of the important thing is as the Rex was going up, we also hit the limit on Rex, and we have actually 80% usage being hit and Rex stopped working. Now, this is another issue which we have highlighted. I have been chasing this since November 4th, and even Dan himself confirmed that this is an artificial limit which should be lifted. So this is another corner case which is actually being investigated. The resource model is being investigated. So a lot of benefits of this stress on the system are coming out. And finally, I would say that even if it is a kind of a spam attack, or if people are calling it a virus, people are calling it a something which should be banned, I would say that it's a matter of they are not really spamming the network and taking any unfair advantage, because what they're doing is people are actually buying this token. In fact, I saw some of their tweets. They're talking about launching a sister chain. So in a decentralized world, my opinion is there is no business for anybody to go and censor an app. There is no business doing anybody going and saying that this is a valid use case or not. So let me give you, and I think Dan also commented on IDOS. He said that it is not an exploit, it's an edge case, and they're already looking to improve things. So again, as I said, everybody has brought all the corner cases, the peak usage scenario where we are running at a pretty significantly high operation rate. EOS is fairly new. We are not even like, we are in 1.5 years into this mainnet. We are not perfect, and all these issues will be found while we are running at such a huge rate. And not only just running at a huge rate, we are saying sustaining this for a continuous period of weeks and weeks. This will definitely do well for the system. And as I explained to you, I personally don't feel that EOS is congested in any form, because I'm actively using the network. All I needed was another 100 to 200 EOS staked. And I know a lot of people are complaining because they were using free resources even when they had only 0.1 EOS staked. But you have to ask yourself, if there is a heavily used public blockchain, if you are expecting free transactions, by the way, even now the transactions are free. When I'm saying I'm staking 100 to 200 EOS, that is just a stake. I will get that EOS back whenever I don't want to use the network. So transactions are still free. Now, coming back to the second point is, if you expect even no staking, then we are not proof of stake. When we are we cannot just give away transaction to everybody, because ultimately blockchain resources are limited. So there is no question of people complaining that, oh, I used to be able to do a lot of transactions earlier. The reason was the network was not used, and EOS had a policy of giving away resources for instead of blocking people, you are actually enabling everybody if the network has enough resources. Again, if I will go back and compare with Bitcoin and Ethereum, when the network is not much used, the network fee go down there as well. Your usage is like you can send within a 1 cent worth of fee, you're able to make transactions. When the network is congested, you go all the way. As I mentioned, I have personally paid up to $50. So this is how I would say we should look at it. This is how we should interpret what's going on. Now, having said that, I think let me do a little more analysis on IDOS. IDOS is originally founded by Aidan Pierce. He's a kind of a, I think, pseudonym. He's not a real person, but I mean, he's not a real name. This is not his real name, but I think he has been very popular. There are a lot of people who are buying the token, believing in him, believing in his previous chain, which was, I think, Enomivo. This project was launched as a EOS IO sister chain, and there were a lot of issues similar to what we are seeing right now in EOS world. He had been facing issues about the BP's collusion, people buying votes, and so on. So this was a real project which was going on, and he decided to launch on again a token to spread this tokens to as many people as he can. And he's talking about launching a new chain. So again, we can all question whether it's a valid project or not, whether it's the right way to do things or not. Either way, some people believe it's a real project. Some people are willing to go and buy this token on an exchange. Otherwise, there's no, like, nobody will mine something which is useless because you cannot really sell it to anybody. So from that perspective also, I think there is definitely something which we cannot comment. There are some set of people who think it is a good project and they are buying the token. Anyway, this token will, like, you can always mine it and dump it, and this project will die on itself. If it is not worth anything, it will die itself. Now let's go to the other topic of the day, which is huge. I think this came out yesterday night, which is Block.1 is going to start voting. Now this is, a lot of people were very, very excited about it. A lot of people had been waiting for it. Now, why the Block.1 did not vote, I think most of us know what is the reason. It's a significantly a legal reason, because they did not want to be seen as controlling the public mainnet. They don't want any other concerns around the centralized nature of this EOS mainnet. And what is happening now is they have explained that right now they own a very small stake, that is 9.5% of the total EOS tokens. And also there is inflation going on and their stake is coming down. Moreover, at this moment, if you look at all the block producers, even with their $90 million EOS staked or 95 million EOS staked, they cannot even get any standby block producer into a paired position. What I mean, not in paired position, what I mean is in the producing node position. So they cannot even select using all their might. They cannot select a producing node. So now legally, they can easily justify that they are small enough that they are not able to make a big change and control the network. And that's how they are justifying that now they are just like any other community member, and they want to engage in the EOS governance process. Still, it's not a small stake, it's a huge stake. And moreover, not just the size of 95 million tokens, but also the representation from Block.1. If Block.1 will endorse a certain BP, suddenly the reputation of that BP goes up. Other voters may go and follow Block.1. So there are a lot of things which will change with this, we believe. So I would say this is something which is becoming a huge change in the governance. Again, I don't know if this will happen today, tomorrow, or maybe another 6 months. So Block.1 is known to be very, very careful, very conservative. They just announced that they will start voting. It doesn't mean that it's happening tomorrow. It doesn't mean that it's happening in 10 days. But it's a very progressive step, I think, for the whole mainnet. And I hope that this will encourage more people. Now, having said that, I think as we also need to understand that right now, the blockchain on the EOS mainnet is operating all right. We don't see any major issues other than some people not happy with the progress of approvals. I've talked to some of those BPs. They have mentioned that it's a matter of reviewing the changes, of course, we know that the quality of top 21 in terms of technical quality and the contributions which they have shown, we are like very concerned about whether they're even capable of reviewing and approving these changes. And that's where, again, the dependency on block one keeps on coming into picture. And that's where I think most of the people are very happy that block one is now taking active participation in the blockchain upgrade process. So again, this came on Twitter. I think Brandon Bloomer himself afterwards said, let's go. So it's a lot of exciting stuff. A lot of people are happy right now. So do send your feedback. I think it's very important. And it's about public conversation. I think that's great about decentralized nature of this. We should give feedback to Block One. They have asked for it. They've asked people to tag EOS Gov. If you see here in their note, they have said that you should go and tag EOS Gov and give suggestions, and they will compile and probably even interact with all the people. So I'll take a quick look at the comments in the meanwhile. So please feel free to ask questions if you have any. We will try to answer as much as we can. I don't see any questions. I see some comment about IDOS that it was done behind the scene by some well-connected team. I kind of agree. I think IDOS is definitely getting a lot of community support. Whether it's just an attack, means again, we are assuming it's an attack. We are assuming it is malicious. That's why you're talking about connected teams. But what I'm seeing is a lot of support from miners and exchanges. Like you cannot just list on BitThumb on all the exchanges, like centralized as well as decentralized, in such a short time on the first day of launching your token, unless you have that support. So I think that's one important thing you need to keep in mind. All right, so we talked about the CPU, we talked about IDOS and Block One voting, which are two big things happening right now. Let's switch gears and let's talk about Liquid Apps. So as you all know, I've been very actively involved in Liquid Apps. This is, I think, the holy grail of scaling, right? Means we are talking about how do we go from, like, currently a few thousand users per app. I think we have hit the maximums are around 2,000-3,000 users to millions of users to like really scalable apps. And I think I'm very excited about the layer 2 solutions. And more importantly, they are now announced a dApp hackathon, which is pretty good. It's starting this weekend. I do encourage everybody to go participate in this. And we are talking about pretty decent sized prizes. Like these are like $15,000 as a grand prize, and moreover a 500K dApp token, which is pretty good sum for, and it's a pretty, I think, promising token, as we all know. Again, anything I say in these videos or in YouTube channel, please remember there is nothing of this is investment advice. So whenever I talk about tokens, it's about technology and what we are excited about. So please be careful. A lot of people have assumed that we endorse a token when we are talking about it. So just want to make sure that people are not taking it in a wrong way, and do your own due diligence. But when I talk about excitement of Liquid Apps, I'm mostly talking about the technology and the potential. The token is very difficult to beast. Like the investment itself is a totally different aspect. Sometimes the technology can be successful without giving any returns to the investor. So that's something which you need to do your due diligence. But in terms of technology, we are pretty excited. As you know, even Blockstart, like that is our, we have the incubator accelerator for dApps. We have a DSP node as Blockstart.1. We are actually one of the like #1 DSP provider. We are very actively working on this, and we are happy to get the support from the dApp token holders. And moreover, we have created a leasing service. I think a lot of people who are part of the dApp network, and token holders, they already are aware of what we are doing, but do engage, I would say. And even if you're not right now engaged, if you're a developer, if you're looking for participating in the hackathon, it's a great opportunity. So just wanted to highlight some of these things. Now, one more thing I wanted to talk about today is Vigor. Now, this has been like, first of all, again, a lot of people questioned me when I joined as a custodian candidate on Vigor. So I'm bringing this up right now to clarify. One thing is, I am a big fan of DAX. As you all know, I was also EOS DAC custodian candidate. I was selected as EOS DAC custodian for a few weeks as well. And I did participate in the meetings, discussions, and also on a lot of other things around like MSIGs and so on. Now, EOS DAC was still a limited participation because their structure is very different. The block producer was run as a separate entity, and the most of the custodian role was the multi-sigs. Let me tell you, like EOS DAC, probably I did not do enough, and I did not have opportunity to do enough in a DAC format. But when I look at the Vigor, I'm very excited because this is a real DAC where people who are participating, they are actually building the platform. So from that perspective, I would say it's huge. It's a pretty interesting concept, and I love DAX. I love DeFi because this is like a stablecoin project. Now, again, it's not an endorsement. The token has no value, which you're buying on exchanges. This token is going to be used as to pay fee when the platform actually launches. Today, it has no meaning other than just the excitement around it. So please be careful and don't look at it as an investment advice. So when I joined this, my goal is not to say that it is a project which everybody should invest in. What I'm trying to highlight is please come join it. Please, anybody can go and simply register. So you log in with your scatter, you go and read the constitution, you sign the constitution, and you go and create your profile. And you can become a candidate if you want. So if you see today, there are a lot of candidates who are currently, except for the top 21, we have a lot of candidates who are registered. And this is great because we see a lot more participation coming in. I do know that a lot of people are actually right now it's getting a little slow. So I hope that I'm not able to show all the screens because it's not loading fast enough. But what I'm trying to highlight is a lot of people questioned when I joined because, of course, the custodians who are on the top 21, they are getting paid just like block producers do. It's a pretty much transparent system, but people had concerns about the amount of WIG token which is being paid, and that WIG token is listed. So it's a matter of starting a chain where you have block producers getting paid, and then they go and that becomes their property because they're actually contributing and they're selected. So at this moment, what I can tell you is I have not found anything wrong with it. I'm not endorsing it as an investment. What I'm telling you is it's a very exciting project. I'm very, very privileged to work with some of these people because when I interact with them on Telegram, on many other channels, I'm seeing that these are people who are building something really great. And my respect for these people is increasing day by day, all the custodians. And many of them, of course, are developing right now and building this project on a day-to-day basis. So that's all I wanted to say. And again, none of that is investment advice, so be careful investing into it. Now, let's move on. What is another exciting thing which is happening in the space now is Greymass has revealed the Greymass Fuel. Now, what is Greymass Fuel? It's basically the same thing which a lot of applications are doing where they are paying for your transactions. So this was the EOS 1.8 feature, which is now already used by a lot of applications where you don't have to bring your own CPU. Even though your CPU is 0, you are able to interact with those apps and a lot of things are working. But what Greymass is trying to build is a more generic system, as we know that they are like some of the best people technologically in this space. And what they have allowed is that they are creating a pool of resources where somebody can go and donate the resources while the apps can use this tool to go and use that overall system, in the sense that you can take from this pool and get the CPU for your app. So again, this is another service. I need to learn a little more about how this will work, but I'm learning that there are millions of tokens already flowing into this, and people are donating their CPU. So it's just amazing how this economy is evolving on the CPU itself. So I hope that this will not be misused for IDOS token or anything like that, and the real dApps will take advantage of this. So again, very exciting development. I'm pretty happy with how things are moving on this EOS 1.8 feature set. Now, let me again take a break and take some questions which are coming on the chat. So one of the questions which came up was, will EOS 2.0 be implemented before New Year? I think EOS 2.0 is available as a stable release now, I heard. Only a few days back it came out. So I would say that it's a matter of testing being done by block producers. The good news is that it is a much easier upgrade as compared to 1.8 because there is no hard fork, and hopefully most block producers have to do is just test it and go ahead and just launch it as just like any other normal upgrade. The results are very promising. We're talking about another 4 to 5x improvement. So let's talk about EOS 2.0 for a minute. If we are already hitting 63 million, let me reload, by the way, by the time we are talking. See, this is what I was talking about. By the time we were doing this video, the record is now 65 million. So what this IDOS is doing is we are every minute, we are increasing our peak speed or peak performance. That is what is great about EOS right now. Anyway, coming back to the point, now we are doing 65.6 million transactions or operations, not transactions, because EOS has a structure where one transaction can do many operations. So we are doing 65.6 million operations per day. What we are talking about with EOS 2.0, this will probably become 300 million or more. That is 4 to 5x improvement over what we are doing today. So that will be amazing. Like, I think if you see again, I don't see any roadmap from any blockchain which can even come to our current 65 million. With EOS 2.0, we are talking about another 4 to 5x increase. So hopefully that will happen pretty soon. And I think it's again a big change. So I hope that the testing is done properly. Nobody wants to hurry up and screw up the network. So definitely it will take some time. But whether it will happen by end of the year, I hope so. But of course, I don't know. Now, coming to the next question, vigor versus equilibrium. I think, I mean, I'm not done the technical analysis of the whole model of stable coins and so on. I think vigor is a kind of improvement on MakerDAO. Equilibrium is slightly different, as I understand. It's mostly like vigor is using different models, and it has much more wider feature set. And I think the basic difference is like equilibrium is more like an entity which they started as a more centralized versus what vigor is trying to do, which is a DAC. So just the governance model, just the selection of custodians, which vigor has that equilibrium doesn't have. But I think vigor is not even launched. So as a product, vigor is not even launched. So I would say that it's not easy to compare at this moment. The time will tell. But I think, as I mentioned, I'm more actively participating now as a custodian. So I have a lot more excitement about vigor at this moment. Equilibrium also, by the way, they had brought me in as one of the signers on their contract. I unfortunately have not followed up enough as we are busy doing so many other things. I think Equilibrium is great as well because they have some amazing liquidity. They're making very good progress. So I would say overall, both are great projects in this EOS ecosystem. But right now, I would say because of the DAC model, which got me excited, I would say I'm more interested in Vigor, but also willing to participate in any other project as things go along. YubiKey updates, again, those are EOS 2.0 features. YubiKey updates, I haven't heard anything different. I did talk about, I think in the previous video, that we already have some of the other exciting updates. That is, you can use your EOS authorization using your hardware wallet like Apple Secure Identity. Those are already there. I'm sure YubiKey should also be coming soon. It's a matter of, first of all, enabling this feature in EOS 2.0 because EOS 2.0 is not launched, and then it will be a matter of wallets integrating it. So it's a phased manner. When you roll out a technology, it takes time. I would say that I need to learn more about EOS 2.0 features, because there's one basic thing is when you upgrade EOS 2.0 and then you enable features one by one. So definitely, I think it will take some time. I don't think YubiKey is happening tomorrow. It's going to happen maybe, first of all, we need to wait for 2.0 launch. Then we need to wait for all the features to be enabled. And the third step will be for wallets to go integrate these features and the apps to integrate these features. So that will take maybe some more time. Other questions I see is, who do you think B1 will vote for? So no idea. I think Block One has not even confirmed when they will start voting. So they are just saying that they are open to voting now, which is a big news in itself. But I think it will be a tough decision for them because as they keep selecting block producers, you can never, as I have learned, I have been running proxy for such a long time. There is never a perfect answer. There is never like you can be sure, because you are taking certain things into consideration. You are trying to make sure you're using objective metrics, subjective metrics, and ultimately you have to leave out somebody because there are only 30 votes. On the other hand, I think things are now changed, and the real value creating VPs are, some of them have dropped out already. So the choices are maybe lesser to make. So as we know, the most of the popular block producers, which are really technically strong as well as making contribution, I hope they get the vote from block one. But again, we don't know, and they have not disclosed yet their voting criteria. So I think we have covered most of the questions. Please feel free to ask questions here on the chat. It's great to be in an interactive session after a long time. What else is happening? I would say that we already discussed these things. I don't have anything other prepared as such, or anything else which I was planning to talk. So what I would like to conclude here, unless there are more questions, is that in general, we are pretty much happy with how things are progressing on EOS. It's unfortunate that a lot of people did not plan for how things suddenly will become very expensive. But I think people are learning through this process. I did talk about in my previous video that there are options for you right now to use like free transactions. A lot of games are allowing free transactions. A lot of wallets are giving you free transaction. I think Token Pocket launched it on the mobile. On blocks.io has been giving you free transactions for such a long time. So I hope that you're just keeping your knowledge was of EOS resources, and making sure that you are aware of what's how to go and operate your accounts. I don't think anything is stopped. So do not get into this narrative of a lot of people are trying to create FUD at this moment, which is common. I think this is how the crypto industry has been. A lot of people just love to spread FUD when there are challenges. And perhaps I would say this is a very, very positive situation right now, that we are hitting these high performance numbers. We are fixing issues which we would not have found for another 2 years if there was no usage. And I think that I see as a big, big positive. And as soon as the Rex is unlocked, the Rex rewards will also keep growing now. We are talking about significant users on the network. This is all token holders wanted, where we are saying that currently we will see like when the Rex rewards start again, you can get like significant 4-5% APR again, or maybe 10% APR if the demand for IDOS continues. So those are the kind of things I think we should all be excited about. There are a couple of questions about liquid apps again. So people are talking about, have you heard about immortal apps or websites for liquid apps? Yes, I think even earlier today, there was EOS radio show, which I was listening to, and Benny was explaining how liquid DNS can be used, which is one of the liquid app service, and you can build those immortal apps which cannot be attacked even if you try to take control of the DNS. So yes, there are a lot of exciting stuff which is available from liquid apps as a technology now, but the apps have to be built to use those technologies, and that takes time. And also the tools have to be matured. So that will, I think it will happen over time. But this is why exactly I think the kind of EOS ecosystem which is evolving along with the tools which are coming across, that is what is very exciting. Will liquid apps offer resources to regular users or just app developers? I think you need to understand what liquid apps is before I can answer this question, because liquid apps is a service, a layer 2 service, which dApps have to use. Ultimately, it will benefit the regular users because you are the users of the dApp. But regular users will not know how to use liquid app service because this is a software feature. These are layer 2 services. So there's nothing that ideally, as a user, you should not know you are using blockchain. It should all be a matter of the UI of the dApp. That's my view. So from that perspective, yes, all the users will benefit in long run, but I don't see why a user has to know what is liquid apps or what is like an average user. When you talk about mass adoption, doesn't need to know what is EOS, what is CPU, what is RAM, what is your liquid apps itself. All these things will be just your tool set for dApp developers to develop dApps, and not really something which users will care for. There's another question about 80% Rex cap. Is it removed? It is not removed because I think Block One and the VPs are reviewing the corner cases, because if you remove it, then there can be significantly new corner cases which nobody has understood yet, and it's a big change. My suggestion was to perhaps go for a 90% limit or something, because definitely the Rex returns had not gone too high. Rex was still relatively cheaper, where you should stop the loans, and the market should have decided. So that's what I had actually written in this article as well when we talked about it on the Medium. So go read it. I will post a link about it. That's my view. But again, it's not easy to change such an important code. Remember, there's $300 million worth of EOS, which is locked into Rex. So people don't want to make mistakes just to fix this issue. Again, I think, okay, so I think maybe we have not discussed that part, that everything will be fixed in next few days as the loans mature. This status which we are in right now, this will not stay forever. Even if we don't do any fixes, if we don't make any changes to the code, EOS is working fine today, except for a mismatch in the resources for people who took loans before the rates went up versus people who are trying to take loans right now, or because the Rex is locked. All these things will automatically change as the current set of loans expire. And that is already happening. So let me go and see if I can open up the EOS Authority Rex, and you will see that in the Rex statistics, you will see that what is happening here is you're already seeing that there are a lot of loans which are expiring. So there is a lot of loans which are going to keep expiring. So anyway, I think I am not able to show this right now, but what I'm trying to highlight is go look into this data, and you will realize that while the limit is not removed, there is a lot of progress which is happening already. So that's that will happen itself. This thing will fix itself. But yes, the cheap resources will not be there anymore, because we have significantly high demand for this mining and the CPU, which is causing this kind of CPU crunch. Those dApps which learn how to consider multiple resources will be dApps which succeed. That's right. Then there's another comment on that many people may leave Rex when their funds become unavailable. I think the funds are already available. I'm withdrawing some funds from Rex. Some people are currently trying to withdraw bigger amounts. They need to go actually on to, they have to queue themselves up. It's a little more complex situation, which we did post on our Telegram channel. So do join us there. And we keep sharing these details on how to really access. The Blocks has already made a note on how do you queue up yourself. So you can always withdraw right now. You're not really locked for 30 days. It's not really staking for 30 days. You're not locked for 30 days in usual circumstances. It's a very much a corner case, which I don't believe it will happen again. It will fix itself in some time as this extreme situation goes away in next 20 or I think less than 3 weeks now. So don't worry about that. And it's a demand and supply thing. So people who leave, they will make the cost higher for Rex, and there is already a demand. So people will come in when they see that Rex rewards are again spiking up, and nothing is locked as such. It's just a matter of worst case scenario is if you're queuing up your withdrawals, you will get it after another 20 days. So even now we are able to withdraw because the loans are expiring every day. Loans are actually filling up this withdrawal queues. So there is no reason to worry about that. All right, so what else? I don't see any other questions. We are running very close to our end time now. Please feel free to ask your questions. I don't have any more agenda to discuss, but overall, what I would like to say is that there's a lot of great things happening. We are sustaining some really significantly high rates of operation on EOS. We have block 1 coming and voting. Of course, they're not voting yet, but they are announcing that they're open to voting now, which is huge. We have some great stuff happening on Liquid Apps. We are seeing some great, and the hackathon is back, which is, of course, it's not a EOS hackathon, but it is Liquid Apps hackathon. But it's great news for developers, I think, in this time with some amazing prizes. So do join there. If you are in Liquid Apps already, do consider staking with Blockstart. One more thing I think which we would like to highlight as a Blockstart, which we have been doing, is we have created a leasing market just like Rex for DApp tokens, and we have been offering some amazing lease rewards on DApp tokens. So if you're not aware of that, do check out our lease.blockstartsp.com. And again, not an investment advice. It's only for people who are already into DApp economy and they have done their due diligence. But what we are showing here is that there's a lot of potential of a staking economy, how you can really as a token holder, you can benefit dApps, because dApps who are trying to stake and use this layer 2, just like Rex is enabling those dApps. If with cheaper resources earlier, we are helping these dApps go and provide, like all the other token holders are staking to this lease package where dApps can lease from us, and they are benefiting from it, and there is some real usage happening on the dApp network because of that at a much cheaper rate than what you would do otherwise. So currently we have compared it with the Blocks APR, because Blocks is also giving staking rewards. So we have been doing significantly good in terms of helping the dApps as well as enabling dApp token holders. So do consider that if you are into dApp token, and even if you are into liquid apps. If you are interested about Vigor, I'm very actively involved right now. Do join as custodian candidate. It's all a simple matter of signing the constitution. So don't listen to the FUD around. I'm right now, I know that some people are not happy with all the promotions and stuff happening on Vig. And I think that being part of this community now, it's only I have spent a few days, but I'm saying that like there's nothing which is like it's a decentralized community right now, which I think one of the only few which DACs which I see are operating very well. And they are trying to do the best they can. It is still a closed system. It is not a public DAC yet. It needs a slow booting up process, and that's what these people are trying to do. And the project is not launched yet. So I would say that please be careful. Don't see it as an investment advice. Any of these people, and I think anybody who is saying go buy Vig, they're not doing justice to this project. So it is not a shell for Vig. It's a matter of inviting you to come and join and participate, because DACs are the future in my eyes. And doing like a DeFi is already, you are seeing in Ethereum world how big it is becoming. So we have definitely a long way to go in EOS to go match up to those levels. And these are some really smart people out there. So I'm happy to be working with them. So that is a summary on all the things we discussed. I don't see any more questions, so we will close it. Markets, again, as I said, they will take care of themselves in the long run. I would say that Bitcoin is kind of leader which drives this market as is now. And you are seeing the Bitcoin dominance coming down for the first time after a long time. We talked like we were above 70% in the worst case scenario. So the alts are slowly coming back into their own. And what will matter in long run is the projects which are making progress, which are really giving kind of performance as well as innovation. So from that perspective, I'm fairly happy with EOS. I'm fairly happy with the kind of performance. There's no question. I think all you need to show everybody is this chart, where there's 82% of all the blockchain transactions, and everything else is like very, very small right now. And this is 7-day average. This is not a 1-day peak. So remember this. So this is something which will drive the adoption. This is something where when you are building mass adoption apps, you will see those things. I think that's what matters. So focus on these things, focus on the real data. Don't listen to people who talk about, this is a spam attack or this is something which is not normal. It doesn't matter. In long run, what matters is proof on the chain that you can sustain these many transactions. And at this moment, we are fixing those issues which are coming out because of this peak load. And that will matter 6 months from now. Like what happened last year with Twitter, you remember there was an account which was spamming EOS. Nobody remembers that right now. That's when we did our first stress test on the system, and we did next level of scaling. Now we are talking about totally different levels. At that time, we were doing maybe probably 8 or 10 million transactions. Right now, we are doing 65 million transactions. And next time when we come to this state, when we will be peak load, and again, there will be another heavy usage of EOS, probably we'll be talking about 300 to 400 million transactions. And that's what matters when you talk about technology. It is progress. It is the benefit to ultimately the dApps who are going to come back and use EOS. They will all benefit in long run. So thank you once again for joining. Thanks for all those who came live and asked questions. And we will be back again, and have a great time, guys. And remember one thing, that you need to keep asking questions and understanding it. It's very easy to go and blame things, either IDOS or Block One or anybody, for either action or inaction, whatever they are doing. But ultimately, you need to look at where we were 6 months earlier and where we are today. And that's what defines how we are making progress. And at this moment, I only see that we are making progress, and ultimately things will follow, and price will follow, and dApps will follow. So that's all for now. Have a great evening. Bye for now.